In 1848, he came up the river on a steamboat to Stillwater, borrowed a rowboat, rowed down to Hudson, and he had been suffering from ill health, so he spent a few days or a week or so walking around in the prairie around Hudson, found someone to guide him, and he wanted to go trout fishing. And the reason he wanted to go trout fishing is he'd overheard in a bar a surveyor talking about the beautiful valley of the Kinni and the falls, and he wanted to go see that. And so they left Hudson, which is now Hudson, and walked across the prairie down to River Falls, stayed overnight here. They stayed right here below this cliff. If you're looking at River Falls, it's right at the base of the power plant. There's a spring that still comes right out of the wall there, a good fresh spring. He tells about drinking water out of that spring. They also told about the Indians being camped across the stream here, where Glen Park is now, and they had intercourse with them. Talked and traded and had friendly relations. They had things to trade, and the Indians had things to trade also that they needed. They spent their first month here, and they'd walled it up, a little overhanging cliff with some logs and timbers and rocks, just big enough for the two of them to lay down in there. And they could build a fire in there to stay warm. Now this is November, late October, month of November, they were there. He was born and raised in Connecticut and knew the value of water power. And his training had been, as a young man, in steam power. And when he came here, he built the first mill, which is called Foster Mill, built it in 1856. And that first mill was one run of stone. It came off of falls that looked just like this. Now that falls hasn't been seen in 130 years. It's still there, and when they take out the Junction Mill Dam, it'll again reappear, and it's a little more horseshoe shaped. And this had one run of stone and one vertical saw blade that you kind of had to guide, but it was the first mill. And my father tells about his father telling him that the area from Cascade all the way to the river was covered with logs that people had dragged in and were waiting to be cut. The Junction Mill became the big mill. Same picture, it's just a blow-up of this one. And this Junction Mill was built, and the dam that they built is here, and that covered the falls of Foster Falls, and that has been covered ever since. This falls, this is the Junction Mill going up, and this is the dam, and that was high enough to cover Foster Falls. So that falls now has been covered by water and sediment for at least 130 years, maybe longer.